Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the South Sacramento Florin Community AB 617 Air Monitoring Technical Advisory Group Design Meeting. My name is Janice Lamb Snyder. I'm with the Sacramento Air Quality District. Today, we're going to be recording the meeting, and so be advised about that, and we'll also be posting that onto our website. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the TAG Design Meeting Lead, Vincent Valdez, who will be leading the meeting for us today.
Okay, well, at first I'd like to welcome everybody to the first TAG Design meeting. I really appreciate people showing up. Of course, I was worried nobody was going to be here, but so we have plenty of people here. And so in the beginning, we are going to be doing a check-in and a team introduction. Everybody here is part of the team. Okay, and so I'd just like to go around the whole list and everybody either unmute yourself and say hello. My list starts with me, so hello everybody. Next would be David.
Hey everybody, this is David Yang. I'm with the Sac Metro Air District.
Then I have Janice.
Oh, hi, this is Janice Lamb Snyder with the Sacramento Air Quality District.
Mark.
Mark Loud-Snyder, Sacramento Air District.
Adrian.
Adrian Wren, Valley Vision. Thanks, Vincent, for hosting.
All right, thank you for coming. Patricia, Pat.
Hi, Pat Shelby with AB 617 South Sacramento Steering Committee.
Ariane.
Hi, Ariane Ortegre with Grid Alternatives.
Welcome here. Ashley.
Hi, this is Ashley Reynolds with Sacramento Air District on the incentive side.
Okay, the names are jumping around now. Let's see. David Ridley.
Hi, yeah, Dave Ridley from CARB, the Monitoring and Laboratory Division. Thanks, Vince.
Okay, Eric Bissinger.
Hello, I'm with CARB Enforcement.
Okay, welcome here. Jaime.
Jaime Lemos, the Sacramento Air District. Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you. Joelle.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joelle Tony, representing the Red, Black, and Green Environmental Justice Coalition.
Oh, welcome here, Joelle. Jonathan.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Bobadilla. I'm with the California Energy Commission.
Welcome. Juan Carlos.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Juan Carlos Garcia from UC Davis Institute of Transportation Studies and resident of Sacramento.
Great. Welcome here. Karen.
Karen Buckley with CARB, Office of Community Air Protection.
Okay. Welcome here, Karen. Good to see you again. Samar.
Hey everyone, Samar with the Environmental Justice Team at CARB.
How about Jose Saldana?
I'm here, folks.
All right, good to see you, neighbor. All right, so did I get everybody on the list?
Hi, this is Herman Barahona, community organizer with United Latinos in Sacramento.
Oh, sorry, Herman. Welcome here. And if I didn't get everybody on the list, please say hello for us right now. But I think we have everybody, so great. All right, so has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? Can you see it on your screens?
Yeah.
So we just did the introduction, so now we're going to do the check-in. How does the TAG contribute to the South Sacramento Florin AB 617, and what gaps will it fill? And this, at this time, this is kind of what do you think the TAG meeting, the TAG Technical Advisory Group, what can it do for the AB 617 process, and what do you feel we can shape it into? This is something for everybody to answer, so we're going to go all the way around the room once again. So we'll start with David.
Yeah, hi Vincent. This is David. So from the district's perspective, we'll definitely take the recommendation from you and work with you guys. What what I think needs the steering committee the steering committee needs is to really understand the data that's coming in and what and that will help us lead to what type of to identify the sources and to help develop the strategies that could be implemented to help reduce or mitigate emissions.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. You go first, but actually my name's first. So it's found that it's going to help us understand the technical aspects of the data that we get from our monitoring, create objectives in community air monitoring, and also help us express to the community what we're doing and how the air monitoring project can impact their everyday life. And so that's just something that I like to see out of the tag. Next is Janice.
Hi, Vincent. I think, David shared some, really good ideas. I think what I'm hoping that the tag will help us do is what is the best way to communicate with the community, and are there things that the tag group thinks that we're missing in terms of looking at different type of sources and how we interpret the data. I think that could be really helpful and useful. So.
Good. Mark, you're next.
Thanks, Vincent. I think ultimately it really is, and I think you keyed this up nicely, Vincent. I think the question as to what the tag may ultimately end up looking like depends upon what information the committee is hoping to help them understand in terms of information. Is that more technical assistance in terms of just understanding data? There are other elements of the plan already in terms of outreach and things of that nature. So it really is a matter of what is the steering committee looking to get from the eventual tag, and just how will that tag look to help the committee.
Thank you. Okay, next is Adrian.
Thanks, Vince. I guess my first thought was the value of the tag is in building a shared understanding around the science of air quality and, of course, how it impacts people. But I think Mark makes a good point. There could be, communications experts or others who get brought in to make sure that these efforts are accessible.
Thank you. Ariane?
Thanks, Vince. I think the first thing that comes to mind is, having the group potentially come up with a list of the gaps that there are so that we can kind of tackle those systematically and make sure we get everything covered. And then as far as communication, I think coming with a consistent message that everyone can walk away with, so the community will be getting the same message from multiple sources, which makes it stick and hit home a little bit more the more you hear something over and over. So I think those are some initial ways.
Thank you. Ashley? And it's alphabetical order. Just have, if you haven't noticed, my list is in alphabetical order. My first name.
No problem. So I guess what I'm hoping out of this on the incentive sides for the district is to make sure that our efforts align as best as possible with the tag and the South Sacramento flooring community. And we are, I think this is already mentioned, that we're just consistently sharing the same information, and that we're doing our part too on the incentive side to help make sure that we're providing accessible information on incentives, and it's provided in an information that, or in a way that people are able to comprehend it and not so technical, so to speak, as we tend to do at the Air District.
Okay, thank you. Dave Ridley?
Yeah, Vincent. So I think it's been brought up already, but the fact that I think what I hope for the tag is that it can be used as a resource for the steering committee for any of the kind of technical questions that they have, but then also that kind of the communication aspect of the data to help with that, and potentially kind of the how to action what's found in the data to what's possible and what's not possible.
Thank you. Eric Bissinger.
Hello. I mean, I would, I'm in enforcement, so I would take an enforcement angle where we use the monitoring data to kind of help us implement some targeted enforcement, along with the, whatever the ground truthing type of information we can get from the steering committee.
Thank you. Herman? Herman?
Sorry, I was talking to myself. I had to unmute it. Herman Barahona with United Latinos here. I'm very excited to see that it's not only the science, but this is a human story. There's close to 400,000 low-income people who have been breathing bad air for a long time in South Sacramento, from the 80 freeway in the north end all the way to Elk Grove in the south end. And so what I hope we get out of this is that we remember that there are children and families who have permanently been affected by poor air pollution, and that we keep them in mind as we talk about ways to improve the situation.
Thank you. Jaime.
Ashley took my thunder, and the enforcement representative at ARB also, I really like what he said. On the enforcement side, I'd like to take a look at the potential for stationary source enforcement, and then also mobile sources, because that's something that ARB could help out with. But piggybacking on what Ashley said, I think, and the incentives, I think, is a big component. So I'm here to listen more than anything. The needs, from the community, but then also from also all the experts as well here. And then also to what Herman said, I think it's important. One of my team members always talks about values, and that's, I think, more of the human story plus the science, and how both of those components get integrated to come out with something, a really good project, something really powerful, something that the community really, really needs. And so that's what I'm here for, just to listen and see if we can put those pieces together.
Thank you, Jaime. Joel?
I'm here. Thanks for your patience. I always take a while to unmute myself. So I really appreciate this question, because at the very beginning, when we were first talking about having a technical advisory group, the subcommittee was really discussing, like, well, what is it that we need? And what we felt we needed at the time was someone to provide additional information that didn't always align with what the Air District was telling us, because we knew that we were getting one side of a story that was very complex and multifaceted. So I think having a tag that is comprised of folks who are able to provide that alternative perspective and inform the community in a way that is able to empower. So not just provide the facts, but provide alternative solutions and suggestions to the problems that we're trying to address as the South Sacramento community.
Thank you, Joel. Jonathan?
Thanks, Vincent. The tag should contribute to helping the steering committee making informed decisions to know what the data that they're looking at and all the information that's going to be coming in, and just be subject matter experts that have an ongoing dialogue between steering committee and the experts to make the best decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Jose.
Thank you, Vince. First of all, I want to say that I really appreciate the way you're running this meeting and having everyone give their opinion. I think that is just a phenomenal job you're doing. So I do want to acknowledge that. And then I want to acknowledge the reasons for the request that a tag be made, and that one of those folks who really pushed for it is Denise McCoy, who is not here today. And
She said she was busy.
Yeah, her husband's not doing well, and so she's tending to that, and I probably shouldn't even have disclosed that much. I'm sorry for, but anyways, I think some of the original intent behind requesting a tag was to have an unbiased and completely independent truth-telling body who understands the science. And so I hope that is what the ultimate tag looks like. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Buckley.
Thanks, Vince. I'm looking at it from the perspective that this is another opportunity for all of us to continue to build collaborative working relationships so that we get to a place where we can trust each other and have these technical conversations. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Thank you. Pat?
Okay, I've got myself turned on. So many good things have been said. And Vincent, I do appreciate you taking this on, and I very much appreciate your approach to this, getting all voices. I am looking for something, and it has been stated before, that helps us be able to get deep dive information and get perspectives that are rounded, not just one voice, but other voices to help the steering committee, but also for us to also come away with better understanding of monitoring and emissions, but getting a body that can help us understand the overlay under environmental justice, the overlay of health issues, public health, land use, and what are having enough information to know that we have many options that we could come approach to finding solutions, and being able to communicate that back to the community in non-jargon, non-technical English.
Thank you, Pat. Is Juan Carlos still on the call? Okay, if he joins back, well, then we'll get back to him as well. Okay, thank you, everybody. That was I wrote down some notes. We have everything recorded, but it did sound like there was a common theme of sharing the information with the community, objectives in our air monitoring, and independent. I just took some notes, but let's see. Make informed decisions on ongoing dialogue, unbiased, completely independent expert opinions. And so, thank you very much. And we can move to the next agenda item. What type of technical experts should be included in the tag? There are a list of ones that we talked about. I mean, I can go over them if that's what you guys want me to do, or do you guys want to put it, just start chiming in with the different fields or fields of expertise that we need on our technical advisory group?
Hi, Vince. This is Jose. I think it would be really important, and it's on your list, to have a EJ policy person. You know, I want to mention that, you know, the census tract just north of 47th is in the 93rd percentile for linguistic isolation, and the census tract itself is 92% people of color. And I think a environmental justice policy tag person could maybe help you guys find creative ideas to help those folks who were in large part, you know, behind the intent of AB 617. Thank you.
Thank you. Environmental justice policy.
I would like to second that as well. Not just environmental justice policy, but environmental justice advocates and activists who are actively working in the space should definitely be in on the conversation, as well as folks who are in the research space, social science research, language justice research, because all of these topics, it's cross-cutting issues that lead to environmental disparities.
Thank you. I'm going to lead with the obvious, the air monitoring experts. We should be on one of our definitely fields of expertise. And somebody also mentioned somebody in the data simulation or a statistician, somebody who was going to be able to look at the data we receive and how to present it, I believe. Any other areas of expertise?
Public health, health in general, please.
Yes. Very good. Thank you.
And since you mentioned statisticians, I'd like to just give a shout out to the economists, you know, that have statistics backgrounds, and that's good information to have.
Thank you.
Someone else that I've always heard, and I think it's on there as well, is a land use planner.
Land use. Thank you. It's not on my list, but it is now.
Yeah, so those would be the folks that could maybe help you guys strategize around rerouting, you know, truck routes to not go through the community, but maybe straight onto the freeway or something.
Would that also lend itself to transportation as well? Transportation planner?
I think maybe calling that out very specifically with transportation, that might be a separate one. I wouldn't guarantee that land use is, but I think
I've seen them as separate ones in other communities.
Yeah, urban planning is what I think is what you're looking for.
This is Jaime.
Got it.
Question is in consideration here a planner from any organization, agency, jurisdiction, or specific to the city, to the county, to Algrove, one of each?
I think it would be those folks because they would have a direct input as to how things could be changed at the local level. And so in some ways, they're a stakeholder already. You know, if the will of the steering committee is to
certainly the city and the county, I would think.
Yeah, city and county planners would be good, and mostly we're in the county anyway, right?
Hi, this is Herman here. The South Sacramento has a community planning committee, and there are a lot of community leaders that are from South Sacramento that sit on those, and they have direct connections with county planning processes. So yes, I definitely would echo that we need somebody that has that perspective in this committee.
Yeah, if I could just add that, you know, in other communities, say like West Oakland, who, you know, is kind of proud of their accomplishments, they've advocated for the government staff that make the decisions to directly be there so that they can hear the thoughts of the steering committee and possibly, you know, be helpful. You know, if we assume the best about everybody, they'll show up wanting to be helpful. They'll hear you guys' concerns and, you know, look for ways to collaborate.
So more a question, if I may, or I'll just pose a question, and that is, by the way, this is Mark. Would you be looking for the different planning expertise on the technical advisory group, which is providing information feedback back to the committee, or are you thinking that that might be a helpful future tool for the committee? Just something to think about. Not a decision, obviously, just a question.
And that's a good question. And I've thought about it and talked with a few people about overlapping experts who have different other areas of expertise. So,
this is Ashley.
But a city planner, maybe after our objectives are clear and to get data from, hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. Did somebody have something they wanted to say?
I think I have a delay, Vincent. This is Ashley. I was just going to ask, since youth keeps also being brought up throughout the steering committee, would you also want to consider anybody from the school districts, asking them with Sac City or Elk Grove Unified?
To be on the technical advisory group, I'm not, well, there's a possibility. Right now, we're taking all suggestions. We're open for every idea. So everything's a good idea right now. So that's, you know, we've definitely tried working with the school district. I know in getting air monitors in the schools, and we are looking to hopefully whenever school starts again, have some kind of programs at the schools. But so I'm just going to write that down as part of the city planning part of it aspect. Thank you.
Hi, Vince, this is Herman. So I would definitely vote for Sacramento City Unified to be included in this conversation because they do have their own planning unit, and they can be very useful when it comes to what role the schools play as shelter during forest fires, during any kind of bad air day. What role do they play in this for the future? So I think we should be considering that conversation for the future. We do have a letter of support from the president of the school board on our environmental justice agenda. So I'd be happy to connect with them and find out.
Herman, I think that's a great idea. I would suggest the same thing for Elk Grove Unified School District because it does cross over into the city and the county of Sacramento as well as you go up. And in some of our priority area, they are the school district for the same reasons that Herman is saying, but they also have land use, long-term planning divisions of theirs, and are looking at the issues of air quality within the classrooms and with poor air quality, and those are issues I think that are relevant. So asking both of those districts, I think, is excellent.
There was another category, air emissions sources, and then there was another one of policy and legal experts. And I think the policy would be helping us get some legislation or something like that, or what legally can we do as a air monitoring program. So those are just a couple of other different areas of expertise that I had written down. We actually hit on most all the one that I wrote down and a couple of more. Have any other areas of expertise?
Tree planting.
What's that?
Oh, tree planting. We need a lot more trees in South Sac.
Okay. I also see a few new names on our list. Welcome, Erica, and welcome, Victoria Vasquez.
Hi, Victoria. This is Joelle. I wanted to add, we should bring in to our technical advisory group some folks who work with our community directly in nonprofits and community-based organizations. We've been leaning on them not as enough. We haven't been leaning on them enough in advising us on the best ways to reach out to our community. So I think, especially if we're talking about their impacts and asking questions to the technical experts, it's important to have those folks in the room. And I'm talking about specifically La Familia. I'm talking about having Rose Family Creative Empowerment Center, the I Am SAC Foundation, like really reaching out to people who work in South SAC directly with the people.
Thank you, Joel.
Vince, can I give you two more?
Yes, sure can.
One won't make me popular, but the first one is, I think, where possible, to get someone that is with a youth group that can give you a youth perspective on, you know, their thoughts. If, you know, you're shooting for this to be as big as it can, and I don't know if you guys voted that the tag would just be a body that informs the steering committee, or if they have a vote. But if they don't have a vote, it doesn't really matter, right? And I think the other one is someone that owns a business that could possibly be impacted. So, you know, your priority area 1 has auto body shops. It might be good to have someone that owns an auto body shop be on the tag, so that you know, decisions about them aren't being made without them being able to provide, you know, the perspective of the work they do and how it would affect them. I mean, it definitely shouldn't be balanced more towards the industry than the community, but I think, you know, there should be one voice at least from the business folks that could be affected.
Thank you, Jose. In answer to your question, the tag will be informing the steering committee, not the other way around. So we would be looking into technical questions from the steering committee. But someone also did mention before that the business representation on the tag needs to be a part of what we're talking about. They need to be a part of the technical advisory group so they can participate in our process. Very good point. Thank you. Welcome back, Juan.
I have a question about the technical advisory group. And I think you might get to it later on in the presentation, but what sort of incentives are we giving to people to participate in the tag? Because I know in other locations, the steering committee has incentives, but this one in Sacramento does not. So how can we make it worth someone's while if they come from, you know, a 40-hour-a-week job to, you know, come maybe even 60 hours a week if they come to the tag? Is there funding for like a stipend or something?
At this point, I don't know of any stipends that are coming up. Maybe somebody from the district could answer that, or CARB.
So this is Mark with the district. Maybe I'll take an initial stab on this one. Stipends are something that the districts have been talking about with CARB a lot right now, and that is still being something figured out. As it stands right now, though, if there were stipends, it would probably just be for the regular committee meetings and the committee members, and not necessarily the tag itself, just from the funding and where it's going. There are going to be some efforts to try and get some dedicated funding from the state for stipends, and that's part of some future discussions that a lot of committees and districts are in favor of. We just need to try and get some funds for that. So work in progress.
Thank you, Mark. Janice, are we at our time lot for the next item on our...
Let's see. Hold on, Vincent. So we are at 6:41 right now.
Okay, so we still have 9 more minutes. Okay, great. Thank you. Does anybody else want to talk about technical areas of technical expertise, or maybe what the tag could look like incorporating all these different experts?
I have a question actually. this will lead to that technical expert thing. Who in AQMD or within your systems does the analysis for compounds in PM 2.5? Who is the agency that does that, or is it a private company that does that, the analysis?
So Ramon, this is Mark. Maybe I'll start off with this and I'll defer over to Janice and if I'm not going enough in depth on you. So I just want to make sure I understand your question. Is your question on who does the actual chemical analysis or the analysis once we get data back?
The chemical analysis, so the compounds within PM 2.5.
So the chemical analysis goes, so the samples go to an outside lab for the chemical analysis.
Okay. Is there such a person that we can invite to be part of this conversation? From UC Davis or some of these private sources?
So I think, yeah, the short answer is yes. I think we can provide some names if that is an expert that the committee ultimately would like on the tag. We can provide some names. There are a number of companies out there that do that type of testing.
Okay, thank you.
So what category would that go under, Mark? Data
Great
testing?
question, Vincent. Probably like
Areas, missions, sources? No.
I mean, it basically is fall underneath the. I guess I'd probably lump it more broadly under monitoring expertise in terms of chemical analysis.
Okay.
Maybe as a sub bullet for your notes purposes, and that'll help us keep track of the type of information that is being considered here.
Thank you. And good question. Thank you, Herman. Anybody else?
This is Pat.
Okay,
You know, ideally, it would seem that the school district and contacting with some of our local schools and their clubs, with their environmental clubs and their science programs, that's another way of engaging youth through our schools with the program. Everything's more difficult now, of course, certainly because of COVID, but that may be another way of making that contact with youth.
Thank you. Ariane, is there a business perspective from the grid alternatives that we could incorporate in the technical advisory group as well?
Nothing comes to mind. I think the only thing that stands out is just the need for communications expertise for translating the technical to something more palatable.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay, we still have 5 more minutes, or does everybody, are we ready to move on to the next item?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Janice, next item.
I'm on the next slide.
Okay, create a prioritized list of candidates under each expertise category. So I've had 5 people contact me interested in being part of our technical advisory group, and I'm hope some of the people on their meeting tonight will have other people they could submit, and we can just add the list to add the names to the list as we speak. And I think Janice is working with the technical part of that. And so Janice, do you have my list of people who are already shown interest in being part of the technical advisory group?
I was talking to myself, I was on mute. So these are, this is just a Word document. So the names that you emailed me are here. So yeah. Are those the names? Yeah.
Go ahead. So we're looking at a public health expert, Alex Kelter. They did submit resumes. They're a little lengthy, and we can go over them right now. If you guys are interested in looking at the resumes, I think Janice can pull them up individually. We have Earl Whitcomb, air quality monitoring expert. Joel Craig, environmental consultant specializing in ambient air and Epidemiological Monitoring. Jonathan Bobadilla, Health Impact Expert from Air Pollution and Transportation Pollution. He's on the line, so we could talk to Jonathan if you like. And Katie Valenzuela had said she would volunteer to be our environmental justice advocate and representative on our committee. So we have a few of the areas, but I can tell you that it's going to take more than a few experts to create our technical advisory group. So if anybody has names of people or anybody on the call right now is interested in being on the tag, then you can let us know. So I'm opening up the meeting back to everybody again. Anybody have any comments?
I've got a question for you, Vincent. Victoria at SACTRI. Is this advisory committee designed to choose the actual monitors, or is it also going to be part of the solution?
Well, it's shaping to be an independent technical advisory group for the steering committee. And so if the steering committee has questions about some of the air monitors that we have in place, or not understanding some of the technical aspects of the air monitoring, we're going to ask the technical advisory group to help us understand that, or also maybe develop some objectives on how do we implement the air monitoring program in our community.
Okay, so implementation as well as monitoring. Okay. Okay, wonderful. Then I definitely think we need, you know, someone on the tree side to be involved to talk about carbon sequestration and how trees being part of the solution. You know, once we do get the monitors in place, having someone on the committee that can be part of the solution as well would be good.
Very good, thank you. And would that fall under the city planning policy advocates?
Yeah, maybe urban forestry could get involved with the city.
Very good. Jonathan, would you like to tell us what you do as an expert on your health impacts? I saw your reports, they look very well, and maybe you can share what you could do as you're part of this technical advisory group.
Sure thing, Vincent. Well, as you saw, I've written reports on localized health impacts, and mainly stemming from air pollution. So that's it's an environmental justice document foremost, but provides insight on, you know, the projects that the CEC has been funding, and, you know, what are the potential health impacts, and just also identifying those communities most impacted from air pollution. And you know, there's a part of the analysis is looking at not only on the income, like low income side, but demographics, you know, people of color, and, you know, who, you know, there's a study, there's a body of evidence that they're impacted most from, you know, toxins, air pollution. So that's what I bring to the table.
So to help everyone understand, you would get the data from the air monitors and then put them into a report for
Right.
the community?
So if you wanted like a report of some sorts, you know, as the air quality data comes in, you know, and you want to say, well, you know, what's this air pollution coming in? These are the concentrations, and then, you know, then I do like an overlay with, you know, depending on there's a million different tools that you can use, but from there, creating like a report, and this is a report that would be, you know, like accessible and in plain English for the most part. And then that way you guys can, you know, see like, okay, well, this is bad, this is good. I mean, it's hard to make bad and good decisions when you're looking at this data like this, but I try my best.
And what is the state agency you work with right now?
California Energy Commission.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we have 20 minutes allotted for the technical experts. Janice, would you like to show us Alice Kelter's resume? Is there a possibility you can do that?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Alex Kelter.
Vincent, as that's coming up, Do we also need someone who has communications specialty?
We don't have anybody yet. Do you have a name to submit and maybe we can contact them or? You know.
I don't have a name right now because I would want to ask them before I would submit a name, but I'm just wondering if that's some level of expertise that we should have as well.
Yes, I do believe that would be very helpful in getting what we gather and getting it back to the community. That was definitely one of the highlights to what everybody said they wanted to see out of the technical advisory group. So just a reminder, so anybody who gets a name at our next meeting, we'll submit it. Maybe you can get permission from them as well for a resume or something like that to review, and then we can move forward from there and make some informed decisions on who would be on our technical advisory group. Janice, that looks really small on my screen. I don't know, can anybody else read it? Can anybody else see it?
Let me make it. Is that better?
Even better. But yeah, I guess it's going to be hard for each one of us. This maybe next time we'll send it out prior to the meeting so everybody can review the. You'll have to scroll up now, and it's a 5-page resume.
Is it possible to get those electronically where we can be able to review that?
Yes, I think we'll just probably do that for the next meeting for everybody. So Alex is a health expert. He's worked on different positions with the state of California through his life. And I believe he's retired now and he's willing to work voluntarily for us as a health expert.
That's great.
A quick question for you, Vincent. Since there is a lot of pages to this and you've indicated it probably doesn't make sense to have Jan scroll through with it and you guys will just get that shared out, a different mechanism for next time. Would you like Jan to just go back to the main list?
Yes. And these are the 5 people who have shown interest in being on the technical advisory group so far. So Janice, can you just add a communications expert there?
Yep.
We also heard that we need a city planner or a tree planting person. So that would be a urban city planner or?
Yeah, I would offer or ask either Urban Forestry Department or the City Arborist or the Sacramento Tree Foundation's Technical Advisory Committee. I'm sure someone from there might be interested as well. I can shop around for that if you like.
Thank you.
Can I categorize it as urban tree expert while we decide?
Sounds
Does that
great.
characterize it? Okay.
That's perfect.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Pat, did you say something about a school district representative or something?
Yes, I think if we further build out this list so we know what we're looking for and people we can recommend, certainly with the schools, both Elk Grove Unified School District and City Sac City Unified. A transportation expert. Or a transportation planning, that might be urban planning.
How do you guys want me to list that? Two separate ones or one?
Just / urban planning.
I think a lot of the urban planning is going to encompass some of these different categories, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just helpful to have something to look at as we're talking about them. Thanks, Janice.
Mm-hmm.
Any other categories, Joelle?
I I don't want to say who it was, but once again, perhaps a economist, statistician, someone who overlay of that data over.
Jonathan, is that what you do?
Economics is what I went to school for.
Oh.
How I ended up in transportation, don't ask me. Just it's how life works.
Hey, it pays the bills, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. We may be able to have expertise in more than one talent in one individual as well.
You're saying my degree is actually useful? All right. Thank you.
We're going to give you credit, man.
Thank you.
Jose, you and Joelle had made some recommendations about community organizations / activists. I believe La Familia, I Am Sacramento, a youth organization or perspective. Do you guys have any names or recommendations of persons?
I can definitely send written recommendations and email, like email introductions to you all. I think of Brown Issues, that's at Luther Burbank High School. Burbank Urban Garden Program would be great. These youth are already working in Green Tech Youth, would already be working in this.
Oh, could I just have you repeat that again? Because you were just speaking a little fast. I didn't get it.
Oh, whoever is writing got it. But, but it's
also the Rose Family Creative Empowerment Center. But I just want to pause for a bit because I think, at least for me, one of the most frustrating parts of working in a group like this is that not everyone seems to be on the same understanding of the way that racism, white supremacy, and discrimination work on the ground level at every level of our society. And so for a tag, if we're putting a group together, I think having everyone's expertise, having someone who understands environmental design and having someone who's a statistician and economist would be great, but also having them oriented towards why are we even asking for a technical advisory group? Why are we even sitting here looking at these neighborhoods? Making sure that there's a basic understanding of equity, racial violence, and why environmental justice matters. Because we can look at these numbers and we can say, oh yeah, this is unfair, but really having that passion and understanding behind it will make the tag that much more effective.
Hi, Patricia. I have two names, but I'll reach out to them first to see how they feel about it and then pass them along. Thank you for asking. For the youth, I do know that La Familia has a STEM program. And, you know, STEM lends itself to monitoring and learning about this stuff. And they could serve as ambassadors to the community with support from agencies that are wanting to get the word out. So as far as the youth component, that is someone I would recommend. They're not within the boundaries, but you know, they're just on the other side of the Macy's distribution center.
Oh, and I have a point of information for the group. Is it okay if I speak on this, Vince, on the meetings that we've had with AQMD and the chair of AQMD board? We are in the middle of a conversation about our concerns that the boundaries for AB 617 were too small. So the chair of the board of AQMD has asked Dr. Ayala to consider expanding the boundaries to the northern end that we've been advocating for from day one. So I think it would make sense that we start thinking about that way of including people who are not within the boundaries.
Thank you, Herman. I also want to add business representation on our tag as well. So we'd have to look at some businesses that we can get up there. The coding industry is right there on Franklin Boulevard, as well as the automotive repair industry. And they're all along Franklin Boulevard, right there before 47th Avenue. So looking at if we get some business representation on the tag would be very well. And Janice, you're doing a great job getting everything down as we speak. Thank you.
There was one more, a community expert in epidemiology. Did y'all get that?
Thank you. I did not add that. It was on one of my jotted down notes. Maybe I didn't know how to say the word. What did you say?
Epidemiology.
Epidemiology. Yes. Thank you.
There's one effort that I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of by the City of Sacramento. From the Mayor's Climate Commission, they're putting in an EJ advisory group for the City of Sacramento. As you're doing outreach to some of these groups, or even the City of Sac, that maybe to see if there's some kind of overlap with a member that's willing to serve on your advisory and their EJ, just to make sure that some of the efforts can align and maybe work with each other on some of these things, since there's potential that the outreach might be duplicative, depending on what their focus is on. And I don't think it's set up yet, right, Jaime or Mark? I think it's like in very early stages.
I saw something in the news or something about that. The city is working towards that. So that is definitely working hand in hand with the city would be great as well.
And I met with some of the reps today, and I believe it's going to be Nayla Popejoy and then also Jackie Cole, both who will either be leading the effort or assisting with the effort.
Fantastic.
On top of, and then also Vincent, earlier in the call you mentioned the Urban Land Institute, the ULI workshop tomorrow. There's another group of folks involved with EJ in that group as well. So, you know, I think there's a lot of the same people are involved in the same groups. And so, you know, make sure we coordinate with them. That way there's not burnout, or the information gets shared across all the different efforts.
Very good. Thank you. Janice?
Sorry, I'm trying to consolidate a couple of things for us so that they fall into the categories that you guys are talking about.
I think
Can you hear me?
Yeah, the epidemiology went under the health expert as well on my notes. But it was under public health actually.
How's that?
Very good. So do we have any more discussion on the technical advisory group?
Yeah, I think if we're going to make a distinction between urban planning and transportation, that we should make a difference between public health and epidemiology.
Okay. Did we make a difference between transportation and urban planning? I thought urban planning would go with transportation, urban tree expert, and that's it.
Would you guys be interested in having somebody from environmental health? The Environmental Management Division of Sacramento County, they're the ones that regulate all the hazmat, food safety issues, all of that stuff. So some of those enforcements, they could potentially let you know what overlap would be on what the county can do in addition to planning.
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. And Samar Samara Lichtenstein actually made a recommendation for Dr. Taiwo in the, sorry, I live next to a highway. Made a recommendation for Dr. Taiwo that's over at UC Davis.
Is that in the chat?
Yeah, sorry, Vince. So just really quickly, Dr. Taiwo is the co-director for community engagement at the UC Davis Environmental Health Sciences Corps. So she's awesome. She has a deep background, not only in community engagement, she's also a PhD epidemiologist, and she's been working in the area for decades, as far as I know. So obviously would not take the place of community advocates, but I think would offer a real depth of expertise.
Thank you. I don't have the group chat open, so I have so many things on my screen. I just closed it, but thank you. And will you be able to contact Dr. Taiwo for us?
Sure, I can. I don't have a really strong history with her. Somebody else does, but I'd be happy to make that connection.
This is Joelle. I'll reach out to her.
Thank you. And then you can forward the information to me, or we'll get it all going. Thank you.
By the way, just as a suggestion, if I may, and this is really more even in terms of some of the other grouping, is I would suggest just not even worrying about grouping at the moment, even in terms like to the earlier point about, hey, do you lump health expert and epidemiology? Do you lump transportation and or urban planning? Because this is a design meeting and ultimately the suggestions we're going back to the steering committee on what needs they have, it seems to me that just as a suggestion that leaving it more broad, and then you'll have a better idea at that point than if it is grouped together or kept separate. Just to leave that flexibility open. Just a suggestion.
Thank you, Mark.
And I remember earlier in our conversation, we talked about having like a legal expert or a legislative policy expert. So just, I didn't see it on the list, so I wanted to just point that out.
Thank you. Janice, where are we at on our time for this item?
We should be moving on at 7:10 to the frequency of design team meetings.
Oh, we're here.
Yeah.
Boom, we're here. All right. Did everybody get enough input on the potential tag design members and areas of expertise?
I did at this point.
Good, thank you.
Vincent, if people have other recommendations, they are free to contact you and send that information to you.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so our next item on the agenda is frequency of design team meetings. I added this in there just so we can talk about getting the tag moving along. I guess we're not falling behind or anything, but I felt that if we met twice a month, we can get a lot of these action items done in the beginning and then move into doing some actual technical advising from our experts. So to get the tag going, I suggested that we do the design team will meet twice a month for 2 months. And so next week is the steering committee meeting. So it would be good and I'll have a report and with help with Janice and David, we'll be able to have a report at the next steering committee on what we talked about and the different items that we discussed. And then hopefully we'll get some direction from the steering committee for what we can do at our next design meeting, which would be, let me get my calendar out. And I'm open for suggestions, but Tuesday seems like the day for me. Wow, that would be August 4th or August 8th and August 18th. and this is all open for discussion right now. How frequent do you think we need to meet as a design team? And the floor is open. Or the screen's open.
I think working backwards from a goal, right? Like, at what date do you want for the tag to be in full swing, meeting with the steering committee and providing that information? How much work will need to be going into reaching out to folks, getting them oriented, getting them caught up? Like, I think that we should work back from a deadline, then we can know. Because 2 months, is there a big vote that's coming up that we need the tag for? Do we need it sooner than that, you know?
Yeah, along those lines, I think at the last meeting, the steering committee voted to approve the community air monitoring plan. And so I guess I'm having a hard time understanding what the tag is going to design.
Well, what we're doing is we're designing the tag team. We don't actually have the technical advisory group yet. So the experts in the areas of expertise that we just discussed, that's what we're designing for our tag now. And so we're in the process.
But what would they inform you on?
Well,
If the community air monitoring plan is already approved and the implementation of it is already decided, what exactly is the tag going to discuss?
Well,
in part, yes, there's a plan, but we also know that the plan is malleable, right? It can change with our needs, but there is still a need to understand the data that's coming back. There's still the need to design and be able to communicate to the general community. There's also deep dives that we need to also be able to understand and explain the overlay of health. Health specifically is a call out of information that we want, but that's certainly not going to be happening with the monitoring and the emissions data, right? So we need to know how to overlay that. We need to know, and we need to be able to implement and understand how what we implement has and is meeting the environmental justice need that is in the community. That needs to be articulated even more. What we're doing as far as outreach is yet to be determined and fully expanded. We've got very broad, this is the hope we have for communicating to these groups, but that is yet to be defined, and the tag is going to be absolutely integral to being able for us to be able to do that, in my mind.
Yeah, thank you. That helps. And you had me at malleable. Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yes, thanks, Pat. So, and back to what we're talking about on the agenda is, I just thought it would be helpful for us to get this moving along, and we have a tag, and to get a date. I looked at the dates now, so we're looking at September when we could officially start as a tag. So we have, and we don't need to meet twice a month. If we don't need to, we can meet next month, and then choose members of our technical advisory group. And so coming back from the steering committee, we'll be tasked with actions from the steering committee.
Vincent, if we can start getting these names and start getting this work, maybe it's 2 meetings in the month of August and be able to go live in September. I mean, that's and this is the other piece. The tag, in my mind, is also going to have to be able to be able to breathe. We may find that we need more expertise in specific areas. Some of these folks may be, really hardcore standing elements that are there all the time, and there may be others that come in and buttress for specific tasks as well. For example, a communications person may be coming in and really working on, you know, you're getting ready to go live to communicate something out to the public or have an event, and that's where most of their energy would go then. That's just an idea.
Vincent, this is Erica. I have a question. Is this like a unilateral relationship, or is this a relational design?
Your question is the tag is going to work with the steering committee?
Yeah, but is it a top-down communication feedback loop, or is this a sharing of information and both sides can affirm one another?
I believe it's going to be the sharing of, and both sides can affirm one another. And so I attended the Richmond tag meeting, and it was very much just like our regular steering committee meeting. They were at odds about what the data was telling them. They were at odds of what the objectives of working in the data in the communities. And so, but they did come together on their goals. And so there's a lot involved with the technical advisory group, and shaping it, designing it now, I think is a great opportunity for us to get an idea of what we want to see of our technical advisory group, how the steering committee was going to be able to direct it, and then what are we going to get from it. And so having all this down now, we have a clearly, I feel we have a clear direction of what our technical advisory group can do for our community, and how we could have community input involved with the AB 617 process from the steering committee through the tag and back to the steering committee.
And may I add, this is Pat speaking. The steering committee is looking at the tag as a prime resource for a research information in which to be able to base more sound decision-making and solution development.
Vincent and Patricia, this is Jaime. I want to ask just a question too. I think from what I heard at the steering committees and from what you just said too, there was an element of wanting a different committee or subgroup to find independent information to be verified for members of the steering committee and from the community. So with that said, what role do you even see the Air District playing here? And the reason I ask is because I thought that was part of the purpose of wanting to do something independent, right? And so I'm not just asking Vincent or Patricia, I'm asking, everybody here in the group, because I think part of that too is for the Air District to be mindful, right? I mean, to be supportive, to be mindful, and to listen, right? So I'm just curious.
Well, when I attended the Richmond meeting, I wasn't taken back that the Air District was there, and so was CARB. But I was more like, well, okay, they're all working together, and they have more of a working relationship in Richmond because they've been working on projects over the years. And so maybe this will be an opportunity for all of us to work together and come up with a independent conclusions, as well as working with the Air District and CARB in coming up with that decision as well. So we're going to utilize every resource available to us, and that's how the district can participate in the process, as well as CARB.
So if I may, Vincent, the relationship here theme that we're discussing, the AQMD board is made up of elected officials. They are governed by voters. Mm-hmm. So whatever recommendations you have from your advisory board, believe me, our expectation as United Latinos is that the AQMD will honor the voice of the voters in this neighborhood. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on as we develop this relational culture that we're trying to build.
Thank you.
Vince, this is Jose. I think where the conversation might have turned, and I kind of sensed it was with the question about the tag and the conversation, you know, working off of each other. My understanding, and you know, this is your guys' tag, was that it's actually one directional. And, you know, to the earlier comment, it's just unbiased science, unbiased policy, unbiased options. But ultimately, that seemed to cut out the Air District from being a collaborating partner, as it sounded, and maybe that wasn't the intent. And so I think that's where it and, you know, Jaime can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like the tag would be doing the work of the Air District in some ways, as opposed to giving you guys an honest technical opinion and guidance. And yeah, I could be wrong. That's just my impression of maybe where some of the confusion was.
So I'm just gonna tell you my personal how I heard it. I heard it as, and I'm in line with what you're saying, Jose. My personal what I heard was that we just need somebody independent from the Air District to better inform us of this information that the Air District is giving us. So, you know, with that rationale, then I'm wondering, like, for myself, like, you know, I'm just here to listen. I'm here to be mindful and respectful, you know, not to put too much of my 2 cents in and all of that. But I just want to know, I guess, what the expectations are, you know, because I think if the tag says, hey, you know, we wanted this to be independent, then maybe there could be a resolution on how this could move forward, right? With 1 member of the district, with no members of the district, with 10 members of the district, or whatever, right? Or if we're just ears here and listening, and that's all we do, right? I mean, so I think that's my own personal, you know, wonders about this.
Hey, Jaime, if I may, real quick, Mark with the district, maybe I'll just share a slightly different thought on that. Ultimately, what the tag looks like is going to be up to the steering committee. The steering committee is the advisory group to the district on, right now, the community air monitoring plan and other things. To the extent that the committee, and I think I've heard both Pat and Vincent say they would like it this way, I don't mean to speak for them, but I think they've said that they would like the tag to be a 2-directional, sharing information back to them, but they are the main idea, likely, again, the committee can decide where they want to go with this, is for the tag to be that sounding board, another source to be able to share information with and to hear ideas back of a technical nature. And if I'm misspeaking in terms of Vincent or Pat, please jump in there, but you know, the tag itself does not become a separate new committee of 617. That is the steering committee, but the steering committee has indicated that they would like a tag, and this group is helping to figure out what are some ideas, what are some suggestions on how this could look, and how this group can provide that feedback to the committee. And then the steering committee will take in all that information and provide additional direction back. Vincent or Pat, I don't want to be misspeaking at all on that, but that's at least sort of where I see that that's still being figured out.
That's a very good representation of what we're doing. But just to get everybody back to the agenda item, we were talking about how frequent would we need to meet to complete the design of our tag meeting and then officially have a tag meeting or a tag committee. And so answering what Pat had said a few conversations back, if we could have our tag up and running by September, that would be fantastic. And so if we needed to meet thank you. If we needed to meet one more week in August instead of the 2 weeks that I presented, that's fine. And then and we can meet again in September prior to the next steering committee meeting, which would be September 29th. So would you guys like to make a date today on when we meet again for our next tag, and we'll have shared all the different information with the resumes to everybody?
Hey,
And,
Vincent.
Yes.
Sorry, this is Erica. I just wanted to make a suggestion. I feel like maybe at some point it might be needed that the tag or the potential tag group get together with the steering committee to kind of flesh some of that stuff out that you're talking about.
Yes, the steering committee meets next Tuesday on the Zoom meeting, our regular meeting. And so we'll be sharing everything that we talked about today with the steering committee and bringing back those recommendations that the steering committee may have from their next meeting to our next design meeting, which would be sometime in August. I'm proposing August 11th.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vincent, are you saying that the next tag design meeting is August 11th? That's what you're proposing right now?
I'm proposing it, yeah. Does everybody want to agree to meet on the next tag meeting? We're not going to be meeting twice a month. We'll be meeting once a month. And so August 11th will be our next design team meeting. And at that time, we'll have all be able to get the emails of the resumes, feedback from the steering committee, and that again. And we are really close to our, we exceeded the time for the discussion on design team meetings. And we are actually into the public comment section of
Sorry, I took myself off mute that my mom called. I was just wondering, this kept coming up in our steering committee meetings that Tuesdays are council days, and so most people can't do both. If it would be possible to have the tag design meetings on a day other than Tuesdays, so folks can go to council meetings and these and participate fully. If Tuesdays work for everybody and it's just me who has a problem, totally, but just asking.
I'm open to Wednesdays. Actually, Tuesdays are a lot of Tuesdays for me as well. So that would be August 12th would be Wednesday. Go Janice, go. Look at that.
Yeah, go Janice. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joel. I know there are a lot of different committee meetings on Tuesdays. So is everybody okay with going August 12th for our next meeting, and we'll have everything that we discussed in the steering committee feedback as well as resumes for our next meeting to look at?
Vincent, can I ask, folks have volunteered to make some contact, at least initial contacts, to be able to get that information to you. When do you want that? Do you want to get all that information back by next Wednesday or next Tuesday, so that you can be able to follow up on it?
Yeah, within the next week.
Yeah.
And if it does come in a little later, I understand, but yeah. So that would be by next.
The 29th?
Yes, by the 29th.
Vincent, may I make a suggestion regarding your request on the next slides? I think ultimately it's whatever you and the group decides on, but I would suggest definitely contacting potential people. I know I've heard several people say, hey, I just want to touch base with this person before I throw their name in the ring, et cetera. And I think that's a fantastic idea. Might I suggest just throwing out there that grabbing their applications where you're asking someone to put something together, maybe waiting until you know whom for sure you want to reach out to in that regard. There's been a great list that this group has come up with, and there's a lot of names, and depending on where ultimately the design team goes with in terms of the information that the steering committee is looking for and thinks would be helpful on the tag, I'm just want to be respectful of those people's time as well about asking them to put something together until you know for sure if you're asking them to put something submitting. I think it's still, I definitely would encourage reaching out to people who found, hey, is it okay to be mentioning you, et cetera. Just a thought in terms of actually asking for a resume or application from them.
Okay, great, yeah. So if we are gonna submit names, please contact that person first. That it's gonna be a requisite for sure. And also if they have a bio or a resume and they could forward, that would be helpful as well. And get those by the 29th. So we're exceeded our meeting and we have public comments. Would anybody like to have anything to say before we finish our meeting?
Vincent, you have a couple of things on here. We talked a little bit about contacting candidates, and then you'll be updating the steering committee next week. You do have create an email list, so I didn't want you to lose sight of that.
Thank you very much, Janice. Thank you for keeping me on agenda items. So creating the email list. We have everybody's email on our list right here?
The district does not have everybody's email that is listed on here.
This is just their name from their computer, but we don't have an email that links it with those names?
Right, right.
Vincent,
Okay.
can you put up your email contact or give us an email contact to send all that information to?
Yes, can you put that on the screen, Janice?
What is your email again? Is it V Valdez?
Yes, 63 at sbcglobal.net.
There you go.
So everybody, please, if you haven't already and you don't have my email, please send me an email and refer that you participated on the tag meeting in the reference line so I'll know, and then I will add you to the email list. I think we have most everybody on here except for a few people.
Okay, you're good with the next item.
Yes, public comments.
Sorry, real quick, Janice. Well, everyone's going to understand we're on public comments. Maybe I suggest going back to the previous screen so everyone has time to pull up Vincent's email.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. So does anybody have any public comments they'd like to add right now at this time in our meeting?
Yeah. You first.
Who, me?
No, I interrupted someone who had said like one word before I started speaking.
I yield to you, Joel. Go ahead.
All right, Edman. So I had a question from it's not regarding this, but since we have the Air District on the line, I had a question about the Red, Black, and Green Environmental Justice Coalition and our name being used in some of your materials. I'm not sure why that's happening.
Joelle, if you could let us know if you wouldn't mind, you can email me, Mark, where it's been used. I'm not aware that it's been used at all. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not saying you're wrong on that. I'm just not aware that we've been using it at all. So if you'd like to point me to where that's occurred, I'd be happy to go ahead and follow up for you.
Okay, we'll follow up offline. Thank you, Mark.
No problem.
And I'd just like to make a comment. I did pull up the chat. So we're recording what's on the chat line as well, Janice, and we'll be able to answer these questions or follow up with these comments.
David, do you know if this gets recorded? I have to check on the video. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, we'll have to wait to see what's being recorded. I know it's a function of Zoom to either to copy the chat comments or not. So we could see if that's available.
Adrian Wren wants to know if we've sent out a public bulletin about next week's meeting on Tuesday, the steering committee meeting. Juan Carlos has volunteered to be the transportation expert. And I see the information about Dr. Tao and Urban Land Institute information as well.
And Vincent, I did respond back to Adrian's question. We will be having the information on the next steering committee. It should be going out in the next day or so.
Okay, great.
I have one public comment for the members of the steering committee. On behalf of United Latinos, we strongly encourage and will support any efforts that you make to expand the boundaries of AB 617. We have been meeting with the AQMD board president and Dr. Ayala to advocate strongly about expanding those boundaries to the north end of the Franklin corridor, the Fruit Ridge corridor, along with parts of Oak Park. The representatives that were in those conversations were from the Oak Park Neighborhood Association, the Sacramento Tree Foundation, and United Latinos. And we are very happy to announce that Eric Guerra, the chair of AQMD, has strongly encouraged Dr. Ayala to move in that direction so we can come up with a very good air monitoring plan that involves those vulnerable families in the north end of 47th Avenue. So you have the support of the AQMD board. We will continue doing our work when it comes to advocating on the elected side, but we're also building a very strong alliance within the grassroots community that has shown a lot of support for United Latinos. The Catholic Campaign for Human Development, which is a social justice branch of the Catholic Church, has put in their support on this campaign to expand our environmental justice work, so that you will be seeing more of their presence within our network to support a better clean air strategy for South Sacramento. So thank you, everybody.
And this is Erica from the Oak Park Neighborhood Association as well. And I just want to affirm what Erman was saying.
Thank you, Erica. Okay, anybody else for public comments? I want to thank everybody for coming in on the meeting, and this was a great meeting. And it's a very good start for our tag. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Vincent.
I'm going to put a thumbs up somewhere.
Thanks,
Thank
Vince.
you.
Hey, thank you. And we'll be in touch to see you guys hopefully next week at our regular meeting. Okay, are we logging off, Janet? Janice?
Yeah, I'm going to stop recording right now.
Okay. Bye, everybody.